Hi Lisa, to be able to understand what we are, there has to be an energetic shift, I've heard people say. Can you say something about this energetic shift? Thank you, love Monique. Yeah, it's beyond you, and you really don't need to make a big deal out of it, because that will just become a new seeking thing for your mind. I wouldn't think too much about it, the energetic shift. Like, it's more just being present to what's actually being experienced. So if you're feeling really contracted and really narrow, then just letting that into your experience and just being honest to that. Hello, sorry about that. My wire in my audio is a bit on the blink and comes out, so I don't know when that cut out. I was just speaking away. Thank you, Isabel, for telling me. That's great for telling me. Thank you so much. So I'll just start that whole question again. Sorry if you've heard it already. I'm so used to repeating this stuff so many times that I can just keep going and going and going. It's like, oh, I say it. So, okay, come on, Lisa, you can do it again. So basically, what are you asking me about the energetic shift? So basically, it becomes a new seeking habit for people, so it becomes a new thing, like, I'm going to get an energetic shift and that's going to save my life and that's going to fix things, rather than it being money, rather than it being people, rather than it being events and situations, lovers, whatever you might think it is. It suddenly becomes about this energetic shift. And so it easily becomes a distraction. But I was also saying, just to repeat myself, that it doesn't mean that I shouldn't be able to speak about it. Like, some people have said to me in the past, and I often veer away from talking too much about the energetic shift, but it is what it is. That is what happens. But just notice when your mind is longing for that, and just try and be real to what you're experiencing. So if you're experiencing a longing for something else, realize it, that's your experience. What your current experience is you're trying to reject what you're experiencing and you want something better, and notice that that's illusion, that that's not truth, and that doing practices and doing things to get to that energetic shift isn't going to save your life and fix you, because all of that is illusion. Who is that person that's going to arrive at a place in the future? So just see it for what it is, that it's not true that there is an energetic shift that you're going to arrive at. But equally, at the same time, it is what happens. There is this energetic shift from being a limited person to no longer being limited, to being something small, to being everything. And it's not something that will make sense to you. And it doesn't look like something particular in the person. It sometimes can change the person and make the person seem happier and nicer and kinder, but it's not about that. It's beyond the person. So the next thing is that I'm not opposed to people helping themselves in the human world. So on the human world, but it's not that you do this work on the human level in order to help the personality. It's not about that person becoming enlightened or that person finally arriving. It's seeing that you've built up lots of negative thoughts and incorrect thoughts that are causing you a lot of pain, and it's just looking at that. So like if you had a broken arm, you go and mend that. It's working on ways to mend some of the illusions that you have and some of the conditions and genetics that you have. So if you've got lots of anger or severe depression or something, so you can look at that and you can deconstruct that. And I mean, I say this maybe to give people hope, or maybe because I don't know how else to say it, but I think that looking at that opens up the possibility for that shift to happen, because that shift can happen randomly. It can happen to people that are like deeply suffering. It has been known. But often what happens is it's a process of becoming more balanced on the human level and then being able to hear non-duality. Because if you're really suffering on the human level, it feels impossible to hear that which is beyond it, to remember that peace and that freedom that's beyond it. And so if you're just suffering, you just want to get out of suffering, so you've got like intense seeking going on, and then that really blocks everything, like pointing back to there is nothing looking here, or there is simply emptiness. It's like, what is this lady on about? And I can't really describe to you too much what the energetic shift is, because it's impossible. It's really like anything that you'd ever imagine. And it is spectacular, but at the same time, it's really ordinary, because spectacular is something that comes and goes in the personal world. And so it has got this awe to it, but at the same time, there's not an attachment to that. So there's not this obsession or holding on to that dynamic. But basically it becomes impossible for me to talk about. Like when I do talk about this, it feels like I'm just tripping myself up and not speaking correctly, because it's impossible to talk about that energetic shift. So that's my reply.